back of the rim. Garnett on the slam and blow. Curry way downtown. Oh, what a shot!
So the 2025 NBA Draft Lottery just had one of the craziest results in NBA history. And no, I mean that verifiably by the math. And it gets even crazier when you look at the secondary situation, which low-key is almost as convenient as the first. Left a lot of people asking, like, what are the chances the draft lottery broke in the exact way it needed to for the league to benefit the most? And so we'll be going through 2025 and a couple of situations like that today, because as you'll find, a lot of the times when the league has needed an extreme coincidence, there's been chances. Like today's sponsor. The way to win in the NBA playoffs is changing things up and making adjustments, which is exactly what Chance.com has done as the #1 free-to-play social casino in America, as it's nothing like the usual stuff you've seen. Chance has over 1,000 premium slot games that you can play for cash prices and redeem instantly straight to your bank. No crypto, no weird tokens, you don't even need a VPN. Sign up, quickly verify yourself, and you're in. Something that'll basically take under a minute. Chance has got custom games you can't find anywhere else, and some of the biggest banks in the world back it. Talking banks such as Chase, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, you name it, they've got it. And they also practice social responsibility with things like break and play, self-exclusion, and purchase limits. The best part is, through these games, you win sweep coins, and you redeem them into real cash prizes quickly. No 3 to 5 day waiting period, it's instant. So if at any point you've got a couple minutes to kill, or just want something different to try, sign up using the link in both the description and comment section. Anyone that signs up through the link gets 5 sweep coins and 50,000 gold coins free. So what were the chances Dallas was ever going to make a move the way they did in February anyways? How many of you looked and came into the season and went, yeah, they would seriously send Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers? Well, very few people did. You saw a couple of videos online. It wasn't a major topic of conversation until it happened. Not only was Luka a Laker, he was suspiciously a Laker for way less value than he could have been. Even if the whole cover story about, yeah, we just wanted a guy with AD, we didn't want it to become public, cool, you still didn't get everything from this franchise you could have gotten. Not gonna beat a dead horse though. It happened. Of course AD got hurt, of course Kyrie then got hurt, season goes to the mud, yet you still go into the 2025 draft lottery with, what was that, 1% odds at the first pick? My gosh, guys, I mean, they were down here at 11 with 1.8% odds at the first pick. And no, don't forget about San Antonio either. They had 6% odds. If you weren't aware, those odds for Dallas are some of the lowest in NBA history. And oh, we're gonna talk about some of the other ones as well. They were kind of convenient. Anyways, yeah, like I probably said at the beginning, the odds where the lottery was shown, or at least it was recorded, which for the life of me, I don't understand this process. I don't even know why you open it up for ambiguous results or questionable results by not just being totally transparent. I mean, you've got people posting this saying, hey, I saw it with my own eyes. Why don't they just do this in front of everyone? Why don't they do the whole thing in front of everyone? That's a question I've always had, but whatever. Yes, if you didn't know, there exists video evidence of the team who had blown themselves to bits just 3 months earlier, favorably receiving the lottery pick from the heavens. The Dallas Mavericks, surprise, they did one of the craziest things of all time with, to this day, no real explanation of why, and now they've got the first overall pick that they're going to be able to throw on a pretty good team if it's healthy. Don't know when Kyrie's going to be back, but if he did return in a timely manner and somehow you were lucky enough for the rest of the team to stay healthy, including AD, you throw Cooper Flag on that, and at some point there's a window for them to actually play the Los Angeles Lakers in next year's playoffs with this setup. Okay, but I'm sure everyone clocked that with Dallas. You don't know how a franchise could be this unlucky and lucky in the span of a few months. But let's talk about the San Antonio Spurs, because they were kind of hiding in plain sight. I'd been trolling about them getting the first overall pick for days before this happened. I actually even texted my friend minutes before. There was just no way it was going lower than 2. And surprise, both franchises who it would absolutely benefit the league to have the top 2 picks got the top 2 picks. That's all I'm saying. Reason I'd been trolling about the Spurs is, well, A, they had Wemby, and just getting a high pick would be very beneficial right now. But B, there is conversations being had about Giannis. He probably won't stay in Milwaukee, so if you've been lining up potential Giannis destinations in your head, you start looking at the team with young assets and, oh look, a high pick, a second overall pick, 6% odds. Who didn't luck into these picks? The teams that nobody really actually wanted to see with a high pick, let's be real. Even as a non-conspiracy guy before this, something inside me just didn't feel Cooper Flag going to Utah. I just didn't think it was gonna happen. And if I were in control control of some My GM simulation, I probably wouldn't let it happen. Okay, the whole Dallas and San Antonio thing over the last 72 hours has been very well documented. Congratulations, Dallas. Your whole franchise didn't actually fall apart when you inexplicably sent one of the best players ever away for very little haul. Congrats on capturing the flag. However, the very first time I ever questioned anything about the draft, and it's mostly because I've just never really had any business with the draft, so wasn't huge on conspiracy, yet back in 2019, it was a little weird to me how the stars just aligned for the Lakers and Pelicans. If you don't remember the convos we were having back then, it was actually if the Lakers should trade LeBron. The season had gone awry, the first season he got there. There was a lot of young talent there. The assumption was at some point they were going to get him a second star or Anthony Davis, and to this point they had failed to acquire Anthony Davis. And so the questions simply remain, if Bron isn't going to have a co-star, what is he even doing here? So then the Pelicans wind up with the first overall pick. We're very obviously going to take Zion. There goes your AD replacement, and LA got a top 4 pick, putting them in perfect position to have trade bait, or more trade bait anyways. And if you were wondering about the math on that one for any reason, well, the Pelicans had 6% odds to land the number 1 pick. The Knicks actually had 14% where they got 3. That was a pick change of +6 for New Orleans, and for LA to end up with the 4th, it was a pick change of +7. Their pre-lottery position was 11th. And so, because these stars aligned perfectly for the Pelicans to replace their star, and for LA to have more enticing conversation pieces in a trade, while David Griffin had just become vice president of basketball operations, by the way, it's one of Bron's buddies. That was in April, shortly after they had been accused of not negotiating with the Lakers in good faith for Anthony Davis. Boom. Everything got fixed in just a couple of months. AD gets to go to LA, Pels restart, all is right in the world. Praise the draft lottery, right? You ever get into a bad enough situation, it really might just bless you. But wait, there's more. Are any of you old enough to remember LeBron's Miami Heat stint? You know, you actually lived it? Well, if some of you do, you remember the light conversations that were happening about a potential Bron return to Cleveland. I would say about halfway through his Miami tenure, it was never fully ruled out. And by that time, they had already begun the process of making the bed for him. The Cavaliers, that is. And this is why I love NBA history and how it's been documented on the World Wide Web. There is a Reddit argument about the Cavaliers' odds of winning the lottery in 2011, 13, and 14. Now, I'm not going to do the math on the probabilities. I'll actually link this if you just want to go read through it. It's not important though. The important thing is the Cavaliers had a previous deal with the Los Angeles Clippers, meaning they owned their pick going into the 2011 lottery. Even with that luck, the odds that they were going to strike the number 1 pick with the Clippers entry was 2.8%. Check out this excerpt from an article that was actually written in 2020. The Cavs went into the evening with a 15.6% chance of winning with their own and a 2.8% shot with the Clippers. But in one of the greatest lottery upsets ever, Cleveland struck gold with LA's pick, and the rest is history. Of course, they drafted Kyrie Irving. Now, personally, I felt no ways about this pick at the time. The Cavs had just been guttered by the exit of LeBron James. It just kind of felt as if they needed something. They needed to be blessed from the heavens, and they were. So I don't even remember anybody really saying anything. It was, at least for me as a kid, fully accepted as dumb luck. And then you go to the 2013 draft. Of course, they had a 15.6% chance by then. It resulted in Anthony Bennett. Nothing too crazy. Could have gotten crazy. They made the wrong pick, and thus they were right back there in 2014 with a 1.7% chance at the first pick. And this was a wild draft. The Jabari Parker thing, the tank for Wiggins campaign. KD was saying they had a chance to be Hall of Famers. Just whoever gets this lottery, they're gonna be set for life. And it's wild because around this time, yes, the talks were heating up, and if the Miami Heat had lost, we knew LeBron James could be on the move. Well, that's exactly what happened. They did lose, and surprise, surprise, the Cavs won the 2014 lottery. And sorry, I didn't talk about the pick changes. In the 2011 lottery, that was a +7 pick change for the Clippers pick to jump up. It was projected at 8th. And for 2014, brother, it was a pick change of +8. They were projected 9th. They jumped all the way up to grab Andrew Wiggins and house money. Gosh, do any of you remember living through this time? You remember how horribly awkward it was when we just knew Wiggins was probably about to be traded, and they're on TV asking him how he feels about it. Does he want to play for the Cavaliers? How does he feel to be trade bait, basically? That hurt look in his soul, saying he just wanted to be somewhere with people that wanted him. And guess who wants you? Minnesota. Young talent, they've run out of runway with the Kevin Love era. Surprise, surprise, new big three. Kyrie's already in Cleveland, Braun comes back. You're gone, buddy. Perfect trade bait, just lined up perfectly to get LeBron, what was at the time a new star teammate. Continue the story, the Miami Heat had fallen apart, come back to Cleveland, new storyline. Blessings on blessings on blessings. And I'll keep things fair here, there really is no reason to talk about Minnesota then immediately getting the #1 pick. They had 25% odds, okay? But yeah, so far, just in the last 10 years of the NBA, we are 3 stories deep of times these stars just aligned for exactly what needed to happen. Let's go even further though. You remember that time Chicago had basically been a decade dry without Michael Jordan? Nothing had been working, that whole beautiful rebuild never fully materialized. Though coming into the 08 draft, they had been showing signs of life. In 07, they had built back good enough to upset the champion Miami Heat. The defense was great. They had the makings of a working roster, and they walked into the 08 draft lottery with 1.7% odds to get the first pick. Miami Heat had 25% odds. This one is interesting because it is very hard from a conspiracy perspective to argue Rose going to Chicago instead of landing next to D Wade was more beneficial. Either way, it was a hometown kid story. Lined up perfectly like LeBron did for Cleveland 5 years earlier. Chicago Bulls received a pick change of +8 to grab the kid who may come and save them from the dark era that had befallen the city since MJ left. That one was extremely convenient and it almost worked. Alright, for this last one, let's drive it all the way back to a time before any of us were around, and I'm actually not going to do the frozen envelope one because I feel like that's been covered a million times, it's all over YouTube. However, the 1993 NBA draft lottery results might surprise you, as the Orlando Magic had just drafted Shaquille O'Neal. It improved to a 500 record, and they had a 1.5% chance to get the first overall pick. Something to pair with Shaquille O'Neal, something to get this show really on the road. Despite the odds, they had a +10 pick change to draft #1. The pre-lottery position was 11. This is the one where, once again, just had house money. Chris Webber's there. Shaq has told the story of why that trade went down and they got him Penny Hardaway instead. Either way, the Magic, with one of the biggest hits ever the year before with Shaquille O'Neal, immediately got the chance to get him some help and go to the NBA Finals, and they did just that. So what does it all mean? That is for you to decide yourself. After the 25 draft results, there were a flurry of known names saying, guys, we've seen this ourselves. As I've shown in this video, some people showed video evidence, and it just kind of points to the part nobody is ever really gonna have any solid proof. There will never be a day where someone can say, hey, look, I've got your bird in hand. Here's the document. There's never going to be a way to prove the draft lottery conspiracy. They're simply always going to fly, and some years are gonna look really, really, really bad, like 2025, because we're left, like, if you're one of the people saying you've seen it with your own eyes or explaining the process, it's just a losing battle, and it's not really worth trying to explain because no one is ever going to be able to look at results this favorable and this coincidental and believe it. It's kind of like the thing I always say on the channel, everything in life is optics. Over the last 2 or so days, I don't think I've seen anybody defend the draft process. Yet there is no evidence out there. And as I was just saying, there probably won't ever be. But boy, you can find examples of when things have needed to happen. Well, sometimes they find a way of happening. But of course, if you were to go through the draft and then look for teams and even bigger markets who probably needed the draft to break one way, you'll probably find a lot of examples of it not going their way. So just like many conspiracies, there will probably never be a definitive answer. But boy, the only thing I can say for sure is that the 2025 NBA draft, if there was somebody up there wanting to see things happen a certain way in the league over the next year or two, these results match the exact plan. Mysteriously, in a way, they have multiple times in the past. Let me know what you think of the draft lottery and these results in the comment section below. Also, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and hit the bell next to my name if you want notifications every time a new video drops. Appreciate you watching, and I'll see you all on the next one.